Live guided meditation today for Healthy Minds Innovations. My name is Stephanie Wagner, and I am a trainer for Healthy Minds, and I'm really looking forward to guiding you in some practice today. As we're getting ready to get started, would love just a little check-in from you as we've been doing during each of these practices. So if you'll share with me in the comments your name as well as where you're from, maybe a word describing how you're feeling today. I know for me, I live in Minneapolis, and it's really sad times here in Minneapolis today. For those of you that know what has been happening here in our community. So I'm trying to keep this in my heart and mind as I'm going to be guiding you through our practice today. So, if you're not familiar with Healthy Minds Innovations, let me tell you a little bit about who we are. We are a nonprofit affiliated with the Center for Healthy Minds, a research institution at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And we take the insights coming out of the Center for Healthy Minds and we translate them into tools to help people both cultivate as well as measure well-being. And we've been coming together every weekday for the length of this global pandemic so far to lead you in some guided practices that are really centered in our Healthy Minds model of well-being. And if you're not familiar with our model of well-being, you can find out more at tryhealthyminds.org. But essentially, our model of well-being has four different dimensions, which are awareness, connection, insight, and purpose. And each one of these dimensions has a set of skills that are both trainable as well as they are linked to science, that they are beneficial to well-being. And so this week, our practice theme has been all about insight. And I think about insight as really getting to know ourselves better. We get to know our own minds. We get to see how our thoughts and our emotions shape our experience. We can see the role of perception in the way that we sort of perceive our world. We see how all of these things contribute to our sense of self. And what I wanted to do today was I wanted to lead a two-part practice. The first part is going to be all about insight, and then I'm going to infuse it with a little bit of compassion practice at the end. So let me just see here who we have with us. Wonderful. Yeah, we've got people from around the world today, so thanks so much for joining. If you haven't had a chance to check in yet, please do so. And I'm also seeing that there is some upset in terms of the way that people are feeling. And of course, that is completely natural. So let me tell you a little bit about the practice that we're going to be doing today. So the insight practice that we're going to do is all around exploring our emotions. The way in which we experience emotions, very much emotions feel like a sort of big solid experience. I feel angry, I feel sad. And what we do when we cultivate insight or when we train our minds in insight is that we actually look into the emotion and we can see that there's much more complexity there than it seems on the outside. We actually see that beneath the label of the emotion, there are different components, different parts that are all coming together to sort of shape this experience of the emotion. We feel physical sensations. We see that there are thoughts associated with the emotion. Within the thoughts, we see that there are images and sometimes words. And oftentimes there's almost like a mental attitude or a tone to the emotion as well. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through step by step, really just exploring an emotion that might be up for us right now. And then we'll move towards that, infusing it with compassion right at the very end. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, find yourself in a comfortable seat, one that just feels a little bit relaxed yet supportive of practice. Take a moment to settle in, and you can choose to practice with your eyes open or your eyes closed. And then take a couple of slow, deep breaths. See if you can relax the body a bit on each out breath. And let's ground ourselves in something in our present experience. You might notice those parts of your body that have contact with the chair, the cushion, maybe grounding yourself in awareness of the breath or even sound. Taking a moment to orient ourselves and ground ourselves in this sense of knowing, awareness of what's happening in our present experience. Working with whatever feels nourishing today. And then setting an inspiring motivation for your practice today, tapping into something that's beneficial not only for you, but for the world. Something like, may my practice bring peace to the world. Something that feels right for you. And then allow the mind to simply rest in this open presence. So, not paying attention to anything in particular, just allowing the mind to rest in this sense of knowing. And now see if you can notice any emotions that might be present for you right now. Might be something pleasant, like a sense of happiness or calm, or unpleasant, like sadness or anxiety. So, looking inward, see if you can notice the emotion and create a label for the emotion. So, just name the emotion. And there might be complexity there, multiple emotions. See if you can just identify the one that feels the strongest. And so on the outside, the emotion seems simple, like one thing. Let's begin to explore this emotion more deeply. First, begin to notice the physical sensations in your body associated with the emotion. Where in your body do you feel it? Feel it in your heart, your chest, your belly, your head. And now explore the actual sensation itself. What does it feel like? Does it tingle? Does it move? Perhaps it has a temperature. Get curious around the sensations associated with this emotion. You can label the sensations if it's helpful, or simply just experience them in your body. And of course, there will be moments where you become disconnected from the practice, maybe lost in thought. And when you recognize that, simply bring your awareness back to this curious exploration of the sensations within this emotion. And there's no goal here to get rid of the feeling. We're getting to know it better by allowing it to be as it is. And now see if you can notice any thoughts associated with the emotion. Are there images in your mind? Are there words? And if there's nothing, that's okay too. You can always allow your mind to rest in open awareness. And then notice when those thoughts do arise. And at any point, if working with the emotion is overwhelming, try a different support, moving back to open awareness or perhaps breath. This is your practice to hold in a way that's nourishing and that feels right for you. And if you are able to watch the thoughts, you'll see that the thoughts move, they come and go. They may have a story loop. So stepping out of the story and watching it in your mind. And you can also notice if there's a tone or an attitude in the mind associated with the emotion and the thoughts. Might be critical or compassionate. Notice that as a part of the experience as well. And then you can simply let go of the reflection. Notice how you're feeling as a result of that exploration. Whatever you're experiencing is absolutely okay. You might have a lot of thoughts, no thoughts, pleasant or unpleasant. Simply being with the experience in your practice as it is. And let's transform our insight practice into one of compassion. So, one of the things that can happen when we do insight practice is we begin to see how we are deeply connected with others. We begin to see that we all have this common shared humanity, that we all want to be happy, we want ease, we want to be free from pain and suffering. And so, even with those people that we don't know, we can begin to see that they're just like us in these underlying motivations. So, let's start this practice by simply tapping into this heartfelt wish for ourselves to be free from suffering. So, noticing that feeling of wanting things to be different. There might be this sense of longing for peace, longing for the world to be different, less violent. So tap into that motivation, that feeling, and you can create this wish by simply resting in this feeling, this desire to be free from suffering, or you can recite a few phrases in your mind. May I be free from suffering. Or using whatever phrases feel supportive for a few moments. And of course, awareness always underlies our practice. And when you get disconnected from that sense of knowing in your compassion practice, simply bring your mind back to that felt sense, that wish to be free from suffering and hardship, or come back to those phrases. We'll just do this for another moment. And once again, you can let go of the technique and simply notice how you feel. We're not trying to generate a feeling, but something may have come up, and simply noticing the impact of the practice. Allowing whatever is happening to be okay with this sense of acceptance. And so let's bring to mind a group that is really struggling right now. If you're familiar with what's happening in Minneapolis in the US, perhaps it's cultivating compassion for the family of George Floyd. Perhaps it's bringing to mind another group that's really struggling or oppressed, and really wishing for them to be free from suffering. So, whatever group, whatever person you want to bring to mind, really genuinely wishing for their happiness, their freedom from suffering, tapping into either that felt sense or reciting those phrases silently in your mind. May you be free from suffering. May you be free from hardship. Just like we want to be free from suffering, they do too. And if at any time the practice feels like it's too much, allow the freedom and the permission and the flexibility to work with something else. Once again, letting go of the compassion practice, allow the mind to rest. Notice anything that's bubbling up for you in your body and your mind, and allow it to simply be. And let's do one more brief round of compassion, this time extending this heartfelt wish to all beings everywhere, including ourselves. May we all be free from suffering. May we be free from pain. using the feeling or the words that feels right for you, and we'll just do this for a few moments. All right, letting go. Once again, allowing the mind to rest. And let's create the heartfelt wish that whatever positive from our practice today really ripples forth to benefit ourselves, our community, the world, that it brings forth peace, ease, and well being for all. Mm. And if your eyes have been closed, simply open your eyes again. All right. Let me know in the comments how your practice was for you today. Anything is welcome. Insight practice can be very challenging. Compassion practice can also be very challenging. So here we worked with really looking inward at our emotions. We see how on the superficial label on the outside, it seems like just one thing. But when we explore more deeply, we begin to see that the emotions are complex and that there are thoughts, images, words, sensations that are all moving and very dynamic, and we can simply see them as they are. And then we moved into doing a compassion practice where there's an aspect of this where there is insight that we're deeply connected. We see our own desire to be happy and free from suffering, and we see this in other people as well. And we can tap into this motivation and this wish for others to be free from suffering. So, if you're interested in learning more about the ways in which you can train your mind and insight, you can check out the Healthy Minds program app and download it at your app store today. It is free due to the generosity of our donors. So, let me just take a look at what some of the responses are. Great. Feeling strongly, feeling some spaciousness. Great. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today for practice. We are going to have a little bit of a change in our schedule starting next week. So we will still have Spanish-led practice by Daniela on Monday. Tuesdays will still be me at noon. And then we'll have a rotating group of teachers on Thursdays. So it'll be Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday in which we'll be offering practice. And next week, our theme is compassion. And I can't think of a better practice really during this very, very challenging time. So I'm so grateful for the practice. I'm so grateful that you are all practicing as well. And please just spread the word that we're doing this. The world is more peaceful, more connected, more calm when we train our minds in these qualities. So wishing you ease, wishing you safety, and